Wow, I am so excited to have my friend Susan with us today. I hear Alan saying, Susan's in the house. Susan and Richard are in the house. And Susan's going to be sharing her journey with her husband, Richard, after he passed. And oh my goodness, she has such a story to tell. And I know that I find their love story so inspiring, and I think you will too. And we just having these people share that we have met, because we want the world to know that these relationships are happening to many. And it's just that most people, understandably, don't feel comfortable coming forward and being interviewed and then having this shared with the world on YouTube. So we get it. But we just want everyone to know that this is real, this is happening, right? And if it's happening to you, you're not alone. So listen. And I hear Alan saying, listen and learn and be inspired. Most of all, be inspired to know that our loved ones, not only do they not die, they don't have to leave us, and they can still be very much part of our lives, very involved in almost everything that we do. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Susan. We're just going to chat because we are friends, and we're on this journey together as couples. And so we're just going to have an exciting, fun time just talking about what it is to have a relationship with our husbands across the veil. So, Susan, welcome.
Thank you so much, Pam. I really appreciate you and Alan having Richard and I here. And, we're so excited to be able to share our story with everyone. Starting kind of at the beginning, we had gone on a trip to Hawaii because we go there every year. I grew up there. It's our place of joy, as Richard always called it, our second home. So we had gone there. We'd had a very stressful year that year. And there was the pandemic a couple of years that lasted prior to this. And so we had been through a lot over the last few years. And honestly, it had just brought us closer together. And we were always great communicators. And Richard would always say, never go to bed angry. And so, we always had that where we communicated and we talked everything through. And so we basically went to Hawaii because we had so much stress and it was our time to go. And he loved it there. And, like I say, we'd been going there almost 30 years together. And so while we were there, something happened to him out of the blue. And at the time, I was in such shock and so much trauma happening that I wasn't realizing he was sending me signs straight away and immediately. But I realized after. And so the first sign was I'm sitting there waiting for him to come back. And while I'm waiting, our youngest son, he's a flight attendant, he called me on the phone. And he was in London on a layover, and he woke up in the middle of the night for no reason that he knew of and said, I've got to call Susan. And so he called me. And so I was talking to him on the phone, and I had several calls come in from unknown numbers, but I didn't answer them because I was on the phone with him. And then I'm also getting this little bird pop up on my chair and keep jumping on me constantly. And I said to Evan, there's this bird. And I took a picture and I sent it to Evan. And it was all at the time that everything was happening to Richard when he was transitioning. But he didn't want me there at the scene because he knew it would be too much for me. So he kept me away by having Evan call me. I mean, it's amazing that he was doing these things right from the get-go. And so obviously, once I hung up from Evan and I got the calls from the manager, go to the front desk, and everything just went from there. And then I just went into so much trauma and shock the rest of the time that we were there in Hawaii. And, the only other thing that did happen was it rained. It poured rain for like 3 or 4 days straight. And, Bam, it's the west side of Oahu. It hardly ever rains there. And I just felt like the heavens were weeping right along with me. And so it was just, it was just very symbolic. And so then we came home, and then that's when everything just broke loose. That's when I knew, because I hadn't been able to talk to him or anything because of the trauma and the grief and the shock. And when we got home, everything, I mean, everything started breaking. The toilets started flushing themselves. Some were overflowing, and the fridge broke, and the disposal broke. The lights were burning out. The smoke alarms. You name it. And so after about a week of all of this, I said to Richard, "Okay, you know what? I give. I know you want to talk to me, and I'm sorry. I've just been in so much shock that I can't even accept that this happened. But let's do it. Let's talk and let's see what." And after that, I just started to grow into the phase of I just wanted to be with him and have a relationship with him, however I possibly could. And I didn't know anybody else was doing this. I thought people are going to think I'm crazy. I don't know why I want to do this, but I knew that's what he wanted and I wanted it. And I said, I've got to figure out how to do this. And so that's when he, like, little by little, he led me to you and Alan and the academy. And, it's just grown from there.
Wow, that's just such what a story. Because yeah, the west side of Oahu, it hardly ever rains. It's like the desert. Oh my goodness. So when he came home, everything just kind of his energy sounds like it just like exploded. Because as you know now, like once they cross over, they're quite strong. Some of them, not everyone. Clearly, Richard is, and right, and but not all of them. But they have this residual earth energy, as we call it, to make things happen, lights flickering. And in your case, oh my goodness, light bulbs going off and alarms going off. Alan made my smoke alarm go off and things like that too, but not like Richard. Okay, not like Richard. So obviously that calmed down and you were being able to communicate with him. Was that fairly easy for you to do, to start kind of hearing him? And describe to me how you do hear him, because I know for me, it's like when people ask me, it's like the words just come in, right? The communication comes in, and it sounds like it's me, because and I tell people it has to kind of sound like you or feel like you because it's in your space. And so how can it not be like you, right? Although some people might indeed hear their loved one as a separate voice, as a distinct voice that they remember them having. But most people that I've talked to say that they just know it's them. And with Alan, I can tell like by what he's saying, because he started calling me his nickname for me, which he knew I didn't particularly like, and that was baby doll. And I go, what? Baby doll? And I'm thinking, I know I'm not talking to myself because I wouldn't call myself that. Right. So that was his way of saying, oh, it's me. That's how you know, because the word would come into my head. Right. And I'd go, oh, now I'm totally love it. But initially I was laughing because I go, wow, you're choosing this word. Okay. I know this is you. Right. So tell me then how, in your case, like, how do you know you're communicating with Richard? How does he come through to you?
So it's very similar. It's a lot of different ways, but on a daily basis, very similar to what you're describing. It's just it comes into my head. It's like a download, and not a download of boom, I have a whole bunch of stuff. Just constant download of what he's saying and chatting. And there's been a couple of times that I have heard his voice.
Hmm.
Well, okay, he's telling me it's more than a couple. It is more than a couple. Quite a few times, but very, like, a couple of times where it was very 3D, where I heard him speaking to me, and then other times where I hear his voice, and then most of the time it's just it's in my head,
Like
and
the
but
conversations that comes into your mind, right?
yes, yeah, but
Right.
it's just so him. I mean, it's just him, his sense of humor. He's so playful. He's just who he always was. And that's why from the beginning it never. I mean, I wanted to learn because I didn't really know. And, I had quote unquote lost my parents and my best friend. And I was open to receiving messages from them. And I had gotten a few signs and messages along the way, but then nothing like this. I mean, this was really different and profound. And I really wanted to pursue the connection with Richard and to see what was happening and how we could create our relationship together and continue our love story. And so that's why I was going out and seeking, what I could find. And then he led me to you. And so that helped me so much with learning. I was connected to him, but it was like in different ways. And so I hadn't, when I found you, I think I've told you this story, but I did a meditation with you, and that's when I felt him for the first time, and I felt him in my body. And that was really that. I felt like before that, I was still in kind of in grief, and I was like, I was never going to be happy again. I was never going to smile again. When I felt him, I just cried tears of joy because I knew he was with me. And in the meditation, like it, he said to me, and I heard his voice, merge, baby, merge. And I had a notepad that I kept, where I would write things to remember during the meditation and after. And so I came out of this meditation and I look at the notepad and it's written, merge, baby, merge. Well, and I was like, I didn't write that. He had written it, obviously through me, but I
Right.
didn't remember writing it or doing anything like that. And so when I felt him, it was like ever after. He's just been with me ever since, 24/7, merged, no doubt, just always here chattering to me and telling me this and helping me with stuff. And, just you name it. I
So
think, being open, it just makes it easier for them.
right, absolutely. I mean, our being open and believing, Ellen has said to me, it like gives them more of a stronger link, right? Because our energy is projecting to them because we believe in them, right? I know you're here, even if a little voice of doubt, because you got your fit logical mind that is created to go, what are you doing? And as long as we ignore that and go, oh, I got this, I believe this, right? Was that after you had that merge, because I know what that feels like, and it's not a knowing that you merge, right? It's like an experience. Like, it's hard for people to understand. It's like you just feel
Right,
this, it's like a full mind, body, spirit merge, and you go, okay, I know you're here, and you're never not here. And it's not like, oh, I wonder if you're here, or I'm trying to find you, or you just know, right? You just feel it
right.
all the time. And did your grief ease up a lot after that? I mean, I understand for people it can still, waver, but did that really help?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I felt him, and then after that, I just continued to feel him. I would get tingles and tickles and this whole feeling of warmth, like his whole love, and he's just wrapped around me, and cuddles in the night, and I mean on and on, just all these different physical things, at different times. And then he'd give me little messages, like he'd tickle my leg, and I'd be like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm a light guy. So, like little things like that. And then it grew from there. So it continued on. And so I never had any trouble with doubting. I knew it was him because it was too much to ever doubt. There was no way that it wasn't him. And it's his personality too. I think like us, co-creating together a relationship, because one of the things that you had said early on that really resonated with me and has worked so well for us was creating new memories with them. And so we both started co-creating new memories together. And I would think of things to do, and he would think of things to do. And I've told you about the puzzle puzzle that he came up with on Christmas a couple of years ago with our friend. And so she kind of came in tentatively giving me this gift, and it was on the card, it said, to Susan and Richard. And she goes, I hope you don't think I'm crazy, but I felt like I had, I was compelled to buy this for you too. So I opened it up and it was a puzzle. And so puzzles we didn't do in our life together because Richard had some eye issues. So we never could have done puzzles together. But the fact that he gave a puzzle to us, I knew he wanted us to start doing it. I mean, it has been the most amazing, magical thing because we do the puzzle. I mean, I'm not doing the puzzle. Richard's basically doing the puzzle. It's like, I walk by and I pick up a piece and I put it down and it fits perfectly, and then, it's like then when we're working on it, it's like we're so connected doing it. I really feel like he's doing the puzzle and not me. It's really funny. And that first puzzle that she got for us, I mean, I knew it was Richard because it was the Haunted Mansion. And so that's just his sense of humor. Of course, he's gonna be, it's, all these ghosts dancing around and people, and it's all black. So it was quite a hard puzzle to do, but I don't know how we did it, and then we ended up, Richard picked out a 3,000 version puzzle that was of Venice because we love Venice. We went there on our honeymoon. And so we were doing that for about 9 months. We finally got it finished, but there's no way I could have done that puzzle. It's really mostly him doing it.
I love that. I mean, you just are giving some people some ideas like, well, maybe I'll go try a puzzle with my loved one. If it me, I'm going to probably make it a really simple puzzle, not a 3,000 piece or whatever, right? But Helen loved puzzles, and that's why he's been going, when am I getting my puzzle? Didn't Richard and Susan's story like already like give you an idea? I go, oh yeah, I keep forgetting.
Sorry.
But that's such a fun thing to say, okay, let me see, you tell me where to put this, right? And he says, you can't make a mistake, just have fun with it, right? Just let it be a way that you interact, that you just
Exactly.
go with your intuition and let them lead it. And I know you told me about that puzzle that a lot of it's dark, right? So it's like hard to tell the difference between the pieces. And
Yeah.
unlike these other puzzles where there's a lot of light and dark and colors and contrast, right? But when it's all like, wait a minute, it's all kind of the same color.
Yeah, it's like half of it is black pieces. I'm going, how am I going to do this? Richard's like, don't worry, we got it, honey.
Don't worry, you got me. I know how to do it. So so funny, so funny. So yeah, this whole merge thing, I wrote about it in our book right here, people, right here behind us, about how Alan talked about, merging and saying that, you can't really 100% merge because really you're two separate souls, but you can experience it as if you are more one, right? Which is what you're describing. And which is what I experienced, like this merge. And I tell people, it's like I feel him always wrapped around me. And it's just that at different times, I might feel it more intensely or differently. I mean, is that your experience? Like, because you and I are in this physical world. So we're not always in this same state vibrationally, or emotionally. So it's going to vary. But do you know what I'm talking about? Do you feel like, yeah, sometimes I feel him really intensely and then it's kind of lighter and then it's all good, but it can be different, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we're just spending time together, so another thing we do every day is we go on a walk. And so we're just out in nature, enjoying it, different things, and just being grateful for it. And we're really close during that time because that's all we're doing. So then there's other times like with I have a TV show that's about food and wine and travel, and so there's times when I'm really focused on doing stuff with that, where it's just more like he's in the other room. You know what I mean? Like I know he's there, but he's not, chattering or telling me anything or talking or saying stuff. But then if there's times when I'm kind of like stuck, he'll jump in and he'd be like, oh, well, what about this, honey? So he'll kind of give me an idea, or he's brought us some show guides now, so even my co-host says, like, there's people now that synchronistically come into our life for the show. And my co-host says, oh, Richard brought this person. He goes, I know. And so Richard's even helping him now sometimes. And that was like a really funny time when I was actually at a luncheon with some of my friends, and John is my co-host, and he was having problems with some kind of pixel thing for a picture and sizing it and everything. And he was texting me, but I wasn't getting the text because I was at lunch. And so I came out and I see all these texts. So I called him. I'm like, are you okay? You know what? He goes, well, actually, Richard helped me. He goes, you weren't available. He goes, Richard helped me fix this pixel thing. He helped me figure it out. So I'm like, thank you, honey. But he's bringing, other people into our lives synchronistically for the show, people to interview, people to help us with new platforms and things like that. So he's doing things that, like he says, he used to help on and off, when he was physically here, but now he can help in other ways that he couldn't even help then. Now he's really doing things, and he's like, you could tell he's so proud of himself. Like, I just feel he's just so excited about, being able to do stuff like that for us and help in that way.
It sounds like, is he excited that actually he can do more, as you're kind of describing? Like, because that's what Alan said. Because well, with Alan, he passed on his 83rd birthday, and I think the last 15 years of his life, he was like, I hate being old. I don't like getting old. And so by the time he turned 83 and he passed on his birthday, he was like, I'm done with this body, and because it was limiting him. And so when he crossed over, he's like, oh, I can do so much more to help you and others than I could ever have done if I was still here. And he says, and that's why I had to leave, because you and I, Pam, were meant to help other people connect through the veil and continue their relationships like you and I are doing. And at the time I said, what? Like, really? Like, is this a thing? Because I had never heard of it. You think, like, when you happened to you, you were like, look, think you're crazy, right? I knew I wasn't crazy because I knew what was happening was real, but I thought surely nobody else is doing this, like, but I knew, because Alan said we're going to write this book, which we did, and we're going to reach out to people, and you're going to meet people who are having the same experience, and we did, like you and Richard and so many others. And then my mind was just blown, like, really, this is a thing. And he said, Pam, it's always been a thing. It's just that most people are scared to say a word, but this is happening to more people because we're living during the time of the awakening. And so people are raising their frequency, and sometimes not even understanding that this could open up for them. But in any case, these things are happening spontaneously to some people. And as you know, we've met people and they've come into our academy and have been learning with us. And they thought, like you, that they were crazy, because some of them even looked online, like, for anything. And there was nothing until I believe in many cases their loved ones were guided to find us. Like, some people would say, I just saw your video on YouTube. It popped up on my, feed. And I think their loved one had a hand in it. But I know, I'm the average person out there is probably not ready for this. They're just like, their mind is too blown. But when a loved one comes through so strong, like your Richard did, and for me, it was Alan, just talking immediately the day after he passed. And since I am a channel, I could hear him. And I knew I wasn't making it up. But I still, being human, I still had my moments, right, of doubt. And then, but also because I didn't have anybody else like me who was going through this. So I thought, oh, I guess I'm on this by myself. So in many ways, I am so grateful to even have met you and Richard and all the other people that have found their way to us. And I feel like we are part of this really amazing movement, if you will, almost a revolution, if you will, that even most spiritual practitioners don't understand. unless they have a similar relationship, right? So that's why you sharing your story is so inspiring. And I know that Richard has helped you grow a lot. So do you feel like really like there's any limit? I mean, does it feel like it's just getting better and better? And how do you experience like day to day and month to month? Do you see still things evolving?
Oh, absolutely. And just going back to touch on, Richard definitely, it was so random how I found you. I mean, it completely random. And it was Richard, I know it was without a doubt, and so, that 100% he led me, and us having the ability to share, with each other and with all of the members in the academy and the group. It really makes such a huge difference. But I do feel like it is going to grow. I have no idea where it's going to go, but I don't care, because it's like a fun adventure. And that's also part of what I've learned. Like, Richard's really helped me love myself more. And in doing that, I'm just like, I'm so open and just willing to go through anything. So it's not that I don't have challenges, that I do, but I just see them so differently than I used to. And when things come up, I just know that the universe has my back, and Richard's always looking out for me. And I've got angels and guides and a slew of people over there watching out for me. And so I just know everything's going to work out for my highest good. And I just look at it all like it's a fun adventure. And it's something different, because, it's a contrast, and kind of we're here for the contrast. So, if everything's just like sunshine and roses all the time, we don't appreciate it as much as when we have a contrast to it. And then we get to say, oh, when it's sunshine and roses, I really appreciate it so much more, and just on a daily basis, I'm so grateful. Like, I feel so full of love and joy, and not just for myself and Richard, obviously, but for everybody on the planet, everywhere. I don't know, I just feel so full of love and joy all the time. It's emotional, it's just overwhelming. I cry tears of joy all the time because of that. And it's beautiful to be able to share, going back to the friends that I've met, and you and some other friends in the academy, and people in the group. They've just been instrumental in being able to share this journey in the physical, like you talk about all the time, is very important, because we live here in the physical. And so having that pathway of people that are just open and accepting and supportive, it's such a wonderful thing.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's just power in numbers. So, we're all like on the same path, and we're like-minded. I mean, yeah, we're all different. I'm sure there are many people in our group have various, whatever, political beliefs, religion, even some of them started out religious, maybe they're not so much anymore, what have you. But I don't know. I want to ask you something, that because we're recording this on, let's say, April 7th, 2025. And as you and I know, the world is just kind of in turmoil right now with what's going on in the stock market. And on the surface, it would seem like, okay, this is like really bad, or this is scary. And yet the other day, or actually this weekend, when all this broke out, I feel this sense of peace. And I've never felt this sense of love as strongly as I do now. I mean, I have felt it because of my connection with Alan, and how I'm always blended with him, especially because of our work together. But it struck me as just strange, because I thought, wait, I should be freaking out. I should be like everybody else, really in a panic. And and even though I do confess to going to Costco and doing some, shopping to get some supplies, it wasn't like that. It wasn't panic buying, but it was strange. And Alan said, no, because this is what's coming is going to be good. But everything on the surface looks like it's kind of out of whack. But things have to be broken apart to be put back together again, or built anew altogether. and you're going to be fine. Because as and I know you can understand this and relate to this, because we're connecting to them and they're in the fifth dimension and we're here in the this dimension, we're drawing down that energy and we're lifting up, and our intuition is heightened. And as you have just shared, your sense of your own self-love and love for others, because it's all related. You can't love others fully until you love yourself. So once you really love yourself, you can really feel the love and connection to others. And certainly you can feel the connection to the other side, and not just our partners, but our guides, our angels, our own higher self, and that makes all the difference. Because, and my guides told me long decades ago, they said there will come a time when humanity won't know who to believe. I think we're probably there. and and they said, and people are going to need to rely on their own connection to spirit, because that's the only thing that is everlasting, and that's the only thing that's true, right? Because other people have their own opinions, their own beliefs, and they're filtering everything through that, and they may not be clear. But with this love that we're sharing across the veil, and experiencing that with them, and allowing it to bring up what we need to release, and opening our hearts and raising our frequency, and we're spiritually growing so that we can tap in and we are guided. I mean, do you feel negative right now? I mean, it's normal to say, gee, I don't know what's going on, but but I don't feel panicked at all, and I'm just shocked because I thought I would.
Yeah, oh, I totally get it. I don't feel panicked or shocked or, or upset or worried at all. I really don't, because I really have this sense of like a feeling always that the universe has our back, and obviously everybody's journey is different and everybody's got to learn different lessons and go through different things. But yeah, I'm completely calm. I'm happy. I've told friends, who are panicking and worried, just take a deep breath and focus on your day to day, be in the now, and do what you love to do now, because following your joy and doing what's fun is going to help you, raise your vibration and get through these kinds of times, where what are you going to do about it? You can't focus on it then. It's no point. It's just, if it's dragging you down and making you feel negative, it's not worth it. So there's, no point. Might as well just feel happy and do what you love and focus on your day-to-day things, and just know that it's all going to work out fine. Because I know that it is, I have no doubt at all, so that's also why I feel completely calm and fine about it.
Oh, I agree. I think if we just stay focused in the moment, in the now, which is where all our power is, everything step by step is, going to be evident that we're following our joy, our curiosity, our passion, and trust that guidance. It all does work out. There were so many times in my life, and especially in our marriage, where I didn't realize at the time, but things may have been at certain times kind of financially dire, or other things were happening. I was like, whatever, it's all going to work out. And it always did work out. And Alan would always roll his eyes and go, how did that happen? How did that work out? I said, because it always does work out. And from the other side, he's been saying, I always doubted, but you didn't. And because of you, we were able to work things out, because if it was up to him, a lot of things would have like fallen apart. But I'd always say, no, it's all going to be good. Like, just keep going, right? Just trust and believe, because I'd seen so many last minute miracles and all kinds of things happen. So I know that that's possible for everybody who believes. And I think that you and I, because we have these relationships, right? These men in our lives who they're not gonna let us fail. They're going to guide us and trust, and we have our own guidance too. I'm not going to put it all on them, as much as I'm happy to give them credit. I want to give credit to you and to me too. because we have developed, right? We are stronger, we're clearer, we're more in touch with who we truly are. And that's why we can have these amazing relationships, because we've grown and our energy matches theirs more closely. no, we can't mash them completely because we still have an ego, and that's fine. But I think from what I know of you, I think pretty much your negative ego is sidelined. I don't think is actively get in the way of anything. And I know for me, that's pretty much the case. Like I dropped that a bit before Alan passed, actually, but once he did pass, it's like, oh, he really like helped me clear that out, because it was all about just love yourself, just love everyone, just love life, right? Come alive, be who you truly are, open up emotionally completely. And I hadn't done that until he passed. So I went through this transformation that I am so grateful for it, because I feel so alive now. I'm sure you've gone through a similar thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's actually crazy to think if I think back to the person I was like when Richard first transitioned and I felt like I lost him, like I felt like I died too, and my whole body changed and everything happened. And it was just, I mean, I had some even some minor physical issues that they just went away. And then going on this journey, I mean, back then, that week, if you would have said that I would feel this way now, I would have said, there's no way, you're crazy. Because I was so devastated, so heartbroken. Like I said, I didn't think I would ever smile or be happy again. I thought my life was over. And now, we're living this life together of just pure love and joy and bliss. And I'm so happy and just I love him even more, and he loves me more. I feel it every day. And I'm just it blows me away. It really does, because I'm more me, like you said, and I have honestly completely transformed, but I've transformed into who I really am and more me. If that makes sense.
Right. No, totally, totally get it. That the real you came forth, right? Because they're now the real them, because they
Yeah.
cannot be anything else, because they had their negative ego, which would have been a bit of a mask. That's just how it is for everybody. And so once they cross over, you drop that. So it's changed. And I feel if we want to really reunite with them fully, we need to go through our own transformation. And that's why I don't think this journey is for everybody. Everyone can do it, but not everyone will do it. It takes a certain kind of person who's willing to persevere and also be patient, because our loved ones on the other side, they need to learn how to project their energy through the veil. They're all the different levels. Oh my goodness, Richard, so like, I mean, I can tell his energy was so strong. So I'm not surprised that he made all those things happen, and that he could project himself to you and you could hear him and feel him and all those things. And so it's amazing, but not everybody's going to have that. So I tell people, don't compare your experience to me or to Susan or anybody else. Just know that yours will be unique to you, and you'll discover it, and just be patient and see how it goes. But belief plays the big role in this. If nothing's going to happen unless we believe, and then trust and just allow it to unfold, because this relationship takes time to reveal itself in that way. And we have to be willing to release what is blocking us. But I think this is just an extraordinary experience. I remember in the early days, literally waking up. Maybe you can relate to this. I remember waking up, and this was after Alan is really making himself known to me, and I feel him all the time. And I'd wake up and go, this life is amazing. Is this really my life? Like, I was just like shocked. Like, don't get me wrong, there were times when I was still a little bit grieving, but I was just really stunned. I'd be like, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe that I'm not in just broken, that I actually feel like my energy's coming back, and everything is opening up for me, and I feel more confident in myself, and I just know everything's going to work out. I'd wake up and really just say, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe this is my life.
No, absolutely. I mean, I went up in the beginning, I would wake up and I would just cry, felt like from the moment I woke up until I went back to sleep and cried myself to sleep, I was just crying, and I went through all of that. I was angry with the universe, and I was upset, and I was all of that. And, as I processed through all of that, I started to get to that point where exactly I would wake up and I'd be like, Richard would be right there. And I'd be like, wow, I can't believe we're actually doing this. Like, you are actually here with me, and we're still continuing our love story. It's just different now. It's just completely different. And it's not better. It's not worse. It's just different. And it's wonderful, and it's amazing, and it's magical. And, we always say magic is the new normal, because constantly magical things just happen. And, as I've mentioned, like he sends people now to me to take care of things that he physically used to do, so just things like that. It's just magical. I mean, it just, someone shows up. I don't seek these people out. They just show up. They're here to do something else. And then they're like, oh, do you want me to change the air filters? Or, can I fix this for you? I mean, it's amazing. And, as like you've mentioned to me, that's not my journey, is to learn how to do things for myself, because I already do things for myself. I think what it is my journey is to learn to let people help me more, because I always do that. I'm the doer. I'm always the one doing things. And now and Richard's like, well, I'm sending you people to help you. The things that I used to physically do, now they're doing for you, and you don't have to worry about it, but you have to allow it and let it in and let people help you, and that's all you have to do. Because, it was weird in the beginning. I was kind of like, oh, should I let this person do this out of the blue? Richard's like, yes, honey, that's what they're there for.
You bring up a good point, because some people feel like their loved ones should do everything for them, right? Like, but you needed to learn actually to let others do for you, because you're the one that always did everything. So everybody's different, like what they are here to learn, what is right, like what their higher self has planned. And so it's going to be different for somebody else. Like maybe they need to learn to do things for themselves. Because I certainly have worked with people who feel like, usually it's women, not to give women a rap, but you know what I mean, like mostly it's women who feel like, oh, I don't like, my husband did everything for me, and now I have to do it myself, and I don't know if I can or don't want to, and but they may be needing to learn that, right? And where somebody like you, it's like, no, you already got that down. That's not what you're here to do. You already learned how to do everything. If anything, it's more like you need to learn to receive, right? And other people need to learn how to give, and everybody's different. It's all perfect.
No, that's absolutely true. Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, I'll go with it. So I'm way more open to it now, and strangers show up to do something for me out of the blue. The guy comes to deliver the salt for the water softener, and usually they just dump it outside. And the last time the guy was like, oh, well, I'll bring it in for you. I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, do you want me to put some in the thing for you? And I was like, okay. you know I just said, thank you, honey. It's just stuff like that. Just it's pretty amazing. And I think you what you just mentioned, releasing limiting beliefs is really a key part to it, because as you let those all go, it just gets you to the point where you can allow them in more, allowing and just receiving, and not trying to do anything, but just being open to getting whatever happens, and not wanting specific things, but just getting whatever they give you, because I know that they're going to be always trying to give us messages and signs and gifts of love and everything all the time, and all we have to do is receive and believe, believe and receive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some people, they and it's only human, right? People have these expectations or what they want, and they're not realizing that they may be getting signs or getting contact, but they're thinking it should be a certain way or wanting it in a specific way. And then when it's coming some other way, they just miss it, or they're, again, they're comparing. Like like somebody saying, well, why doesn't my husband send all these people to help me? like Richard sends to Susan, right? Well, because whatever's happening in your life is what needs to happen for your growth. It's not about them not being able to necessarily, although that could be a factor. But because Alan was saying, but because they could put the idea, and I'm sure this is what Richard's doing, put the idea in the delivery person's head. Yeah, maybe she needs help. Because that's how people are. They don't know why they have this impulse to say
Right.
something or do something. It just comes to them, right? And but whatever's happening in our life, especially when it comes to the contact we're having or not having, it's happening for a reason. As you know, that's what we teach everybody, right? Is that just appreciate whatever's happening, even if you think it's something very small. Like, let's say you just feel their presence or just feel this peace come over you. Celebrate the heck out of that, because that's how it grows and grows and grows. But if instead somebody just goes, well, I don't know what I felt. I felt a little something. Oh, I don't know, but this is not what I want. I was hoping that I'd feel a hug or something, right? And they're kind of, in a sense, energetically cutting off the connection. They're not really, that's too strong a word, but they're closing the door. And so what I tell people is believe whatever you think is happening, even if it's not actually they're doing. The fact that you are affirming that and saying, okay, I think I felt you, right here. I felt your energy here. Even if it wasn't them, that actually helps them connect because you're believing in it. Whereas if you felt something and you just shrug it off and go, I don't know what that was. I'm making it up. You're now closed off the connection. So we try to encourage people to just be happy with whatever's happening. And even if you don't believe you're getting contact, just trust that it's there and just believe anything, any little thing. As I tell people, just be delusional because you're giving them the energy from your belief that they're there, and you're giving them the encouragement, and therefore they can come through. Plus, because you believe that, you're expecting it, right? Maybe not expecting how it will, don't expect how it will come. Just expect that something's happening, even if you're not sure what's happening.
Well, and I really noticed how the transformation had come over me when we went on our angelversary last year. And Richard has told me that it's not his angelversary, it's our angelversary because it's mine too, because that was the start of our new journey together. And so last year, he suggested that we go back to Hawaii on the 2-year angelversary to celebrate and make new memories. Now, if you would have told me 2 years before that's what I'd be doing, I would have said there's no way, because I thought I would never return to that place. I said there's no way I'm coming back. It's too painful and too many bad memories. And Richard said, no, it's our place of joy, and we need to go back there and make new memories and have new celebrations. And so we did. And it was the most beautiful and magical trip. And Richard pulled out all the stops. He hooked us up with a room with the best view, and the best view we've ever had in the over 20 years, something years that we've been going there. And it made sense because last time he was disappointed with the view that we had. And so this time we got the best view. And he wanted to go to the same restaurant that we had gone to the last night that he was physically around. And so we went to that restaurant. And when they seated us, guess where they seated us? At the exact same table that we had sat at that night 2 years ago. So we truly did make a whole ton of wonderful new memories there. And we just celebrated our new journey and the love we have. And there were so many magical signs and symbols that happen. And like I said, if you would have told me that I was going back there, I would have said there's no way. But 2 years later, that's how much I've transformed. And now I can't wait to go back again. I know we're in this journey and this relationship together, and our love just grows every day. And every day is different, so it's kind of a surprise, whatever it's going to be. And I love that, because it makes it interesting. It's not like something predictable. It's, but I am expecting there's always going to be something, because there just always is.
Yeah, you're just open about what it would be, right? Because I know some people who want it, that they want it to be a fixed thing. Like, I want you to always do this. And I tell people, don't do that. It's you're setting such a narrow, opening for them. Be more, let it be open about it. Let it be whatever it is. Because then it will always be the highest expression that's possible. But people like to try to analyze this as if the other side could come through consistently, like every time in a certain way. And as you have probably heard me say in class, you and I are always changing. We're always at a different state, and so are they. So it's like we kind of have to line up all the time, and it's not always going to be seamless. Sometimes it will be more than others, but we can't. It's they're not machines, and neither are we. So there are other factors and influences. And so I think the more we can just say, I'm grateful for whatever contact I have. I appreciate whatever you can do for me. And I'm here for the journey, not the destination, the journey of unfolding love and growth. And that's what we're here to do as soul.
And a
So
lot of times it's better than what I could even think of, the little gifts of love or anything that comes up, synchronicities, it's way better than I could have dreamed up, it's just, that's why it's good to not be attached to anything, because it's like your higher mind, and they know more about what's going on than you do, than our physical minds do.
exactly. When you try to control it, you're not letting the synchronicity organize everything. You're not going with the flow. So, and I think this is probably a good place to put a bookmark. I'm sure we'll be talking again in the future, because I know we're always going to be you're always going to be part of our journey. I can just see that. Alan's saying forever friends, and he says we do mean forever, like
Oh yeah.
eternally, forever and ever and ever. We'll always be friends. But I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. And of course, Richard, shout out to Richard for
Yeah,
being
he's like,
present.
thank you.
You are so welcome anytime. I think that I have a feeling the two of them, Richard and Alan, are probably on the same wavelength on the other side, because Alan was such a character. Oh my God, such a big energy. He's nodding. I think they're all going high five, like high five.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no, Richard too, same thing, he's just a big energy, persistent, just really persistent all the time. Always
yeah,
was, always will be.
always will be. They change, and that they don't change. I think that's what I want to have people know, that because you and I are bigger than just this personality that we are here. We're far greater and bigger, but that the spirit that we are right now, and the spirit that they are still are, you know, they're there. So they're going to still be the same, and yet a more higher version, right? Like the 2.0 or 3.0 or 5.0, whatever version you say, right? They're going to be the highest version of themselves, but they're still them with their personality. So thank you both so much. We love you, and can't wait to hear more of your story in the months, years to come. But for now, we're just going to say goodbye.
All
And
right. Yeah, we love you too. Mwah.
thanks.
Love you
Thank you
both.
so much.